Hello, hello, everyone. Welcome in. We'll give everyone a second to go ahead and settle in, find your seats. Caleb, I appreciate you laughing at my dumb jokes.
It was a good one. I hadn't heard that one.
Welcome in, everybody. While you are jumping in, I want to know a festive answer to a question. What is your favorite Halloween candy? Uh, Tell me in the chat. Hopefully, we have that ready to go. Yeah, I want to know what your favorite Halloween candy is. Reese's Cup, Deanna is the right answer. Thank you. I just tried the Reese's Ghosts for the first time, which if you haven't had those, put those on your list for sure.
Bounds
Heather's
is a
just
good
looking to
pick.
Heather's just looking to start a fight for Mounds pick.
I
Love it.
uh I was out of town this last week and I actually picked up some mounds from the gas station, believe it or not.
I love it.
I like junior mints too.
Okay. I gotta be doing like the right activity for some Reese's or for some mints.
I feel like I like all the candy that's like your grandparents' favorite.
Out of a tin.
Yeah. I can only buy it at Cracker Barrel.
Those are cool little prizes. Uh, all right, and welcome in to Cadence Campus Live, everyone. Feel free to continue putting in your favorite chat or your favorite candy in the chat. I always like know what we might need to send over to everybody. So, welcome to Cadence Campus Live. It is your monthly webinar brought to you by Mongoose, and we are here to bring you some spooky tips, tricks, and treats today. And we are going to be talking about how to prep for the upcoming Giving Day, which is going to be at the very beginning of December this year, throwing everyone off. So, joining me on today's episode, though, is our very own Caleb Haynes. Caleb, go ahead and introduce yourself and say hi to everybody.
Hey everybody, my name is Caleb Haynes, been with Mongoose for about 5 years now, and I've really taken a liking to all these different advancement discussions, and I oversee the Northeast Territory here, so hopefully y'all will leave us with some good information today.
Awesome. Yeah, we are hoping to give you guys some great takeaways. I am going to stop sharing and we're going to get a little cozier with everybody here too. So, Caleb, my first question for you. So Giving Day is coming up. What are some things that everyone who's watching, and this doesn't necessarily have to be for just Giving Day, but just like texting in general, as you begin to start asking your contacts for to do something. So what are some things that our listeners can do to like prep or leading up to that day?
Yeah, there's a few big steps that I would always push leading up to the actual like execution of a larger messaging campaign. One of the first ones is making sure that your data is organized. This means like conducting a larger import typically, 1 or 2 weeks ahead of time to make sure that all of your contacts are imported into Cadence along with any of the other custom fields or additional pieces of data that you're going to want to use to build your segments and target, specific populations of recipients. So that's the first big one that I would always harp on a little bit.
Okay, great. So what about this data that needs to be organized? Can you talk a little bit about like pipes and things like that?
Yep. So identify who you want to reach out to. So make sure that your segments are sort of predetermined. The more you can segment your populations that you're messaging, I think the more effective your communication begins to get. This means having, templates just correspond with different segments. So in a lot of the advancement offices that I work with, if we're looking to plan something for Giving Tuesday or a branded institutional giving day, a lot of the more popular ones are Cybon's less than 5 years, Cybon's greater than 5 years, Libon's parents typically receive their own or have their own segment with a template that's a little bit more personalized to that particular population. You could also segment by your gold alumni. So like the graduates of the last decade is another popular one. But it's really important to have these segments predetermined just so you know that your data is in there. Everything can be segmented appropriately. It just removes any sort of mental clutter that might be existing in your mind leading up to the day so that you can feel confident the day of and your time is spent more efficiently and doing the things that you need to be doing, like sending the messages, tracking the messages, and responding accordingly.
That's great. So specifically, you're trying to really break down who it is that you want to text. And then another piece to that is kind of writing out templates that are targeted to those segments. Talk to me a little bit about that too.
Sure. So, typically if you have like a population of people who have supported one particular fund in the past, you want to build them like a custom template. Or if you find that parents are more willing to support something on campus for, Giving Tuesday, for example, like the food pantry, then make sure that you have a template that corresponds with that particular population. It just resonates better. It avoids the sort of generic mass outreach type feel. Your communication and your texting campaigns are more effective whenever your recipients understand that it's one person behind a computer or within an office reaching out to that individual that you're hoping to communicate with. So the more you can personalize that, it just shows that you're more aware of the existing relationship, and that's what you want to take advantage of. So you'll never, ever hurt yourself. There's no downside ever to adding more personalization and focusing more narrowly on, the particular population that you want to reach out to. And that a lot of times in this case means a more personalized template.
So,
You could even involve
uh,
things like giving history or, you'll have that information most likely in your CRM, but the more you can target those particular populations with a customized template, it's going to make it more effective and you're going to see more replies.
right. And then one last little tip about their inboxes. I know in our the prep meeting, you were telling them that they should maybe kind of like start fresh somehow. What you were saying about their inbox?
Yeah, if you have a shared inbox, make sure that it's cleaned up. You can archive messages to make sure that there's not older messages that are sitting in there. A lot of other institutions too will have dedicated shared inbox to a particular use case. So if you have 3 of them that you have the option to leverage, one of them is typically alumni engagement. The other one might be annual giving, and then you might have another one for stewardship. So sending out, thank yous or managing the relationship after somebody decides to make a gift. So making sure that these inboxes are set up according to the appropriate use case and everything is clean and tidy, and you don't have any unread messages sitting around there. It just, again, eliminates the mental clutter leading up to the day, and you can feel more confident the day of and, more organized.
Great. So Caleb, we are in spooky season. I want to know if you have a trick, a treat, some kind of quick hack for everyone that can kind of help a lot with the organization leading up and then on that day.
Yeah, sure. I'd say a good one that I typically recommend that seems to be popular is like a lot of our Cadence users know, you have up to 25 custom fields that you can import. So if we're talking about advancement and Giving Tuesday and things, it could be last gift date, last gift amount, major, graduation year, any of those other details. You can create a custom field just named segment so that the day of when you need to build your list of recipients, you have a custom field that's literally called segment. And within that custom field, you add this segment that you're hoping to target. So it could be live ones, side ones greater than 5 years, side ones less than 5 years, gold, or parent. And so all you need to do is build a segment based off of this one criteria. So you don't have to worry about adding multiple criteria to sort of the logic within the segment, like anybody with the last gift amount, $25 or more, and that last gave according to a certain date. It can get confusing whenever you start combining too many criteria. Just by adding one simple criteria to your segment, importing everybody in according to live on, side on, those different identifiers that I just mentioned, it just keeps you to one step when it comes to actually creating the segment, and it ends up saving you a lot of time just because you're only using one criteria instead of potentially 3, 4, or 5. And this
Rather
can
than
be
separating
repurposed
each
over
one of those
time too.
out.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, so rather than separating each of those fields into separate fields, you can have one that's all encompassing, and then you can kind of just create that value there.
Right, right. And this is something that you can repurpose over time too. So, you might be texting for Giving Tuesday now and then have sort of a branded Giving Day in March. You just do one large import, according to the solicitation of the larger message that you need to send, and you just update this same segment custom field over time. So you keep overriding it, but the process remains the same. You're just limiting yourself to one criteria that includes everything instead of trying to filter through and create 3, 4, 5 different criteria for potentially, 4 or 5 different segments of individuals that you need to reach out to. So
Got it. Okay, so they're doing all this prep. They got their data organized, their segments, their templates are all written out. Is that first text that they send, is that going to be on Giving Tuesday?
no, it typically won't be. So it's nice to sort of warm people up ahead of time. You don't want to go too far in advance, but you don't want to go last minute when it's right around the corner or, the day before. I'd say, 1 week is a good time frame to reach out to people and warm people up. And it also, you're also going to be, receiving some type of opt-outs, so you can kind of get the opt-outs out of the way for the initial text message so that by the time you deliver the actual solicitation, you'll have a higher reply rate. You're not going to receive as many opt-outs on the day of, and you can sort of trickle those opt-outs over time instead of receiving one sharp spike on the day of. So you want to sort of prime people and let them know what's going on ahead of time, just so they're more receptive to the messaging on the day of. And you sort of rip the Band-Aid off in a way of, getting the people that aren't interested out of the way, and you sort of disqualify those leads ahead of time rather than the day of.
Awesome. So rather than just kind of spring it on and like, hey, it's Giving Day, do you want to give us money? You want to tell them it's upcoming and then give them some other options from there too. So,
Yep.
all right.
And you can be more targeted the day of too, because you've already kind of ripped the Band-Aid off. Some people have opted out. Now you're stuck with a really promising list remaining for the actual day of, for the real execution.
Yeah. So you don't want to waste sending time telling everyone it's, Giving Tuesday, Giving Day, whatever it might be. And then you can get a little bit more specific on that actual day. All right.
Correct.
So we're talking in our prep meeting, and we have a little bit of a what should these messages look like? So real quick, I'm gonna share my screen and kind of talk through everybody about what they're looking at here and what these day of messages can kind of look like. Caleb, you want to jump in and just tell us a little bit about what they're looking at?
Sure. So first things first, it's kind of self-explanatory, but you always want to introduce yourself, and you also want to include a first name merge field. So whenever we're talking about best practices, it's always going to be introduce yourself, make sure you use a first name merge field, let them know about the event. And in this case, we have a smart message, and these attract more responses because there's a super clear call to action. So first name merge field, introducing yourself, call to action. Those are like the biggest 3 things that you want to make sure that you're including in your messages. People opt out of messages that they perceive to be spam, or if they begin to suspect that they're recipient number 600 out of 15,000 messages that are sending out, they're much less likely to reply. So with this clear call to action, you're going to see higher reply rates. And this is sort of a little trick in a way that we've begun to pick up on, because we have to include stop to opt out language the first time somebody receives a text message from one of your inboxes. So people are going to opt out over time. But if you take a look at this example, we'd love to know how best to include you. A is call me anytime, B, call me at lunch, C, call me after work. And then we give them another option that's an alternative to opting out, but still lets them express that they don't want to be contacted or solicited. So in this way, you can save yourself some opt-outs over time by giving them the opportunity to let you know that they don't necessarily want to be contacted for this particular purpose, but they're not opted out, so that you can continue to reach out to them over time with maybe some different subject matter. Like people might opt out of a Giving Tuesday campaign, but you still want to be able to connect with them about alumni engagement events or homecoming or a regional meetup or something along those lines. So by providing them with this multiple choice smart message, they can sort of filter themselves into the appropriate bucket. So with this example, if we wanted to like repurpose this to a Giving Day or for Giving Tuesday, I could say, hey, Gary, my name is Caleb. I'm a student here at Mongoose University, and today's our Giving Day. You know, funds go to X, Y, and Z. Can I send you the link to show your support? A could be yes, we send them the link. B could be no, okay, great. Thanks anyways. Have a nice day. C could be I'd rather not be texted, you know, about making gifts, or, you know, I'd rather not be contacted like this in the future. They still might opt out, but the chances are going to be much lower of them opting out whenever you give them an alternative to that. And you just want to avoid them opting out, because then, you know, this channel is not really going to be, you're not going to be able to use this channel in the future with this particular person. So it's a good way that we've kind of discovered, given some of these like updated regulations that we've had to accommodate, to minimize opt-outs, but still allow people to express disinterest if necessary.
Okay. You mentioned a little bit about the opt-out language that's being included, and we did that in order to kind of fall into compliance with our carriers. Can you explain what that automatic messaging is going to look like, and when is it going to be included for everybody?
Yep. So the prompt is going to say reply stop, you know, to opt out. The only time that somebody is going to receive this is the first time that you message them from one of your inboxes. So it is a per inbox feature. It needs to be that way to accommodate the carrier regulations. We have to include this language the first time somebody receives a text communication from you. After they receive that language the first time, it's not going to be included in any of the follow-up messages. It's in a way you kind of rip the Band-Aid off, get that out of the way, make sure that that box is checked, and then you can continue to communicate as normal. But the first time that you send out text message, it's going to be included. So if you anticipate that for your Giving Tuesday, this is going to be the first time this particular population is hearing from you, know that the language is probably going to be included. They're going to receive a prompt letting them know how to opt out explicitly. And this sort of ties back into the example that we're looking at now, providing them an alternative to that. So if we can shave, you know, your opt-outs the day of down from 25 to 15 or 25 down to 10 by adding an alternative option, overall, we would want to make sure that we do that.
And this is why we always recommend kind of texting them a little bit before that day, because you want to get that first text out of the way, but still being able to kind of give them a way to engage with you other than saying stop or opting out or whatever that might be.
Yep, that's a good point. You get it out of the way for the first warmer text whenever you're letting them know what's coming, so that the day of they don't receive that prompt a second time. You've satisfied that carrier requirement, and you're home free, at least from a compliance perspective.
All right. All right. So my next question then is, I'm going to call back our segments that they've created ahead of time. And one trick is to kind of check how long it's going to send. So if they go and do everything that they're going to send this text to this segment, right before they hit send, it's going to tell you their delivery duration. So tell me a little bit about our sending speeds. And if they're planning on sending a lot on that day, how to kind of like get around being able to get all of these messages out.
Yeah, sure. So if you have a shared inbox, we're sending those messages out at a rate of about one message every 2 seconds. And by default, that's the fastest that out of the box we send out texting. So we do offer boosted and maximum sending speed. So it's much quicker than the sort of out of the box speed. It's meant to accommodate really large sends. So if you're texting 10,000 people at a time, 15,000 people at a time, or you're concerned about the delivery window that you're going to be texting, then boosted and max sending might be something worth considering. So whenever we look at some of the data from our advancement teams within 2023, Uh, the messages, trickling the messages out between 11 and 3 seems to yield the most responses. So the average response time is about 120-ish minutes. So plan on, it taking about 2 hours for people to respond on average. But that being said, we want to make sure that you can respond to as many people the day of as possible. And that means getting responses, in the late afternoon, 2, 3, 4 p.m. is ideal. So we don't want you to have an inbox full of 150 people that need some type of attention or response, and it's 7:30 at night, and then you're left to pick up the conversation the next afternoon or later into the next afternoon. It just creates a delay. So if you're concerned about the sending window, know that beginning your message sending around 11 o'clock is typically the ideal time. Plan for about 2 hours for people to respond. And then the boosted sending speeds are meant to sort of accommodate that and allow you to target one specific time a little bit more accurately. Because without it, you might be sending out text messages over the course of 5, 6 hours, depending on the size of your population that you're intending to send a text message to.
This is again another callback to getting out that messaging about your Giving Tuesday or your Giving Day ahead of time so that you're not texting all of your contacts on the actual day, telling them that it's Giving Day and you haven't been able to send another message that's a little bit more targeted about towards their specific segment, or about a scholarship that you want to promote or things like that. So just kind of keeping in those sending times in mind. And if you're interested in learning a little, Caleb, kind of, you mentioned like in general across all advancement teams, like when the more popular time of the day is. But if you are interested in your specific institutions, like hot time of the day, you can always schedule an MQR with your CSM, and we can kind of walk you through some of that data for your specific institution as well. So reach out to your CSM.
Yeah.
All right, so we have about 7 minutes left. I have one last question that I want to get to you, and then also a friendly reminder, if you have questions that you want to ask us, put them in the chat, put them in the Q&A. That's why we're here. So, Caleb, what are some of the types of messages that you have seen or we at Mongoose have seen have like the best engagement coming back?
Yeah, I'll just plug smart messages again because whenever we take a look at the most popular messages or the messages that receive like the highest rates of engagement, smart messages are always towards the top of the list. And that's due to having a super clear call to action. Could you replicate those reply rates um, without the smart message using a similar call to action? Maybe, but just the fact that it's built in for you is a nice feature. And it also opens up the ability to do multiple choice options and allowing them to sort of filter themselves into buckets. So the smart messages are always a great way to make sure that you're sort of maximizing your engagement. Another useful thing is polling new graduates. So you have a list of your graduates that graduated this last semester. You send them a text message, multiple choice smart message to their mobile number and say, hey, congratulations on graduating. Which area of campus do you feel most connected with? It could be A, the library, B, athletics, C, student organizations, D, maybe something else. But in surveying your new graduates and getting this information, it allows you to target them more specifically down the road. So they're not receiving a generic call to action, for a fund that they might not feel a personal connection with. People are more willing to support something if they feel a personal connection to it. So if a new graduate indicated that they felt most connected to the library, they're going to be much more willing to show support or make a gift in honor of the library or betterments in the library than they are to athletics, and vice versa. If somebody is super connected with athletics, they might not be as interested in making a gift towards the library or a particular scholarship fund necessarily. So it's a good habit to get into, and this information can sort of like pay dividends over time. So before you know it, the same practice replicated over the course of 1 to 2 years, you're left with a mountain of information that you wouldn't have otherwise had, that corresponds to the area of campus that your young alumni feel most connected with, and you can use this to solicit them down the line. So hopefully somebody hears that and finds value in it.
Yeah, for sure. And this also goes back to just, you want to reach out to your contacts and just build that relationship with them and not just text them when you want them to give you money. So doing like polls like that, you can get a lot of information about what they're passionate about. So even if they aren't able to give with their money, they might be able to give with their time. So they might want to join a regional chapter, or they might want to, start volunteering for homecoming and other events on campus and things like that. So I think the smart messages are the best way to kind of go and get that information from them right from the source too. So um 4 minutes. Caleb, tell me what your favorite Cadence feature is. We didn't talk about this in the prep call, so buckle up.
I know. I was going to say you kind of threw me a curveball here. I'm gonna fight the urge to say smart messages again because I haven't shut up about that yet. I would probably say maybe segments or auto reply. I think the auto reply is pretty useful, or maybe the messaging tags. So this could be a good one since we're on the topic of advancement. What it seems like one popular struggle for advancement teams is bad data or outdated contact information. You send out a text message and there's lots of wrong numbers that you get. This isn't Ryan. This isn't Gary. This isn't Caleb. And you can refine this information over time by using the tags in Cadence. So somebody replies with wrong number, you add to that particular message a wrong number tag. And over the course of a day, you send out 2,500 text messages or 4,500 text messages or even 10,000 text messages. You might have 150 or 200 contacts sometimes that reply with wrong number. And this is a useful information that you can use and take back to your team and say, hey, do we have an alternate number for these particular people? Are we completely out of luck? Like we need to make updates to contact information to sort of fight back against this like bad data issue that a lot of advancement teams, begin to run into. And the tags are nice too, because, say you tag 150 contacts with this wrong number tag, we make it super easy to export that list. And, you tag all your contacts, check the list out, export it. You can send that exported spreadsheet out to whoever you need to on your team that can begin to refine your data and make those updates. So I'll go with tags this time instead of smart messages.
Uh, and I did not plan this. However, since I have you on the topic of tags and smart messages, I'll throw you, instead of a curveball, I'll throw you a softball now. Do we have any updates concerning smart messages or tags coming in the near future?
Do we help me out with that one?
We do. As of, I think, tomorrow, we are also going to be able to, and right now you can only have one tag per message. However, you will now be able to have 20 tags on a message. And also, one of the more hotter topics to come about smart messages is that we will be able to move smart messages into your personal inboxes as well. So, especially for our advancement folks who might have specifically assigned contacts because it's their like giving total or their region or whatever it might be. Now you can start sending out those smart messages, those polls from your specific number as well, instead of through the shared inbox. So I'll take that softball then for you, Caleb. And if you're, those are all coming as of tomorrow too. So stay tuned. Check out your in-app notifications for that too. So. And Caleb, you get a shout out from an anonymous attendee saying, not a question, just a shout out. Caleb is the absolute best. So good for you. Kudos for you.
Thanks to whoever did that. I'll send you a gift card here soon.
Be on the lookout in the mail.
Yeah.
All right. That brings us right to time at 2:30. So Caleb, thank you for joining me today. You are also one of our repeat guests, so I appreciate you coming to hang out. And obviously, all of our attendees, I appreciate joining as well. So this is the penultimate episode of the season for Cadence Campus Live, and the last one will be in November. So stay tuned on what that will be about before we head into winter break. And have a great rest of your day and stay safe on Halloween. And we'll talk soon.
See you, everybody.